bookmark this section of this video and come back to it in 6 months. See how right I am. Maybe I'll be way off, but I have a feeling I'm going to be dead on these predictions. I'm really curious. I'm going to go back to this in 6 months and see where things are tracking.
Well, it's actually only been about 5 months. I miscounted. Today, we're looking back at the 5 bold predictions I made before the NASCAR season began. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to a special episode of Out of the Groove. In January, before the 2023 NASCAR season began, I released this video onto YouTube titled 5 Bold Predictions for the 2023 NASCAR season, and I said in this video that I would revisit these predictions midway through the season. What better time to do this than just after the lone NASCAR off weekend? We're gonna watch this video together, and either we'll be mesmerized by my foresight and wisdom, or we're gonna share a laugh at my expense if these predictions turn out to be way off. Let's get started.
Now, while my goal is to make bold predictions, that doesn't mean unrealistic.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pick BJ McLeod to make the championship 4. Sorry, BJ.
Oh, he could have made it if he'd run the daily downforce scheme every week. That's worth like 10 horsepower. They might need 20.
My first bold prediction.
Let's go.
AJ Allmendinger will get colleague racing into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs for the first time ever.
Okay, in fairness, we still have 10 races to go before the playoffs begin. But right now, things are not looking great for AJ Allmendinger. I believe he is 20th in points, 33 points below the cut line. So no, things aren't looking great on this one. We're 0 for 1 to start with, but let's hear my reasoning.
Most will look at the road courses first and say, well, yeah. Allmendinger has a great shot at winning one of those races and qualifying for the playoffs.
Exactly, but unfortunately, I was shocked to see that he has not yet led a single lap in either of the first 2 road course races this year. He's got 3 more until the playoffs. There's still time, but he's not been as fast as I thought he'd be.
Coda, Sonoma, the Chicago Street Course, which is new. I expect
that's a wild card.
Adapt quickly. Indy Road Course, Watkins Glen. He's won Cup races at both those tracks before. Sure, of course, Allmendinger can win one of those races and make the playoffs.
That's a good point. The 2 road courses he's won at, Glen and Indianapolis, are still coming up.
But I wouldn't rule out the possibility of AJ pointing his way in or just being consistent. He made 18 Cup starts last year. I know that's not the full season, but that's a pretty hefty sample size.
That's half the schedule.
In those 18 races, he had a 15.4 average finish.
Okay, well now I'm curious. He's 20th in points. What is AJ Allmendinger's average finish this year? 19.9 average finish. That's 4 or 5 positions worse than it was last season. So yeah, I mean, he's 20th in points. That's not terrible, but I don't feel good about AJ Allmendinger pointing his way in at this point. He's going to need to win a road course race, most likely. I guess he could win Atlanta or Daytona as well. I'm going to call this 0 for 1. I don't think I nailed this prediction. There's still time. There is still time. And I did predict he'd win a road course. Not all of them, but a road course. And there are still 3 before the playoffs. But for now, I think, yeah, I'll say this is 0 for 1. I don't think I can give myself credit for this one. He hasn't been as fast as I hoped.
I think AJ Allmendinger is more experienced and more consistent than he's ever been. I believe this will be the best version of AJ Allmendinger the NASCAR Cup Series has ever seen.
I really felt that way, but it hasn't looked like that, at least on the stat sheet yet.
My second bold prediction.
All right.
I'm just in a good mood this morning.
We need to bounce back.
And I think Martin Truex Jr. is due to have a tremendous bounce back year.
Speaking of bouncing back, heck yeah. All right. I'm 1 for 2 on this one now because Martin Truex Jr. has bounced back in a big way. I'm going to listen to what I said, but off the top of my head, he's obviously leading the points right now. That's a pretty big bounce back. He didn't win a race last year. He's won twice this season, plus a third if you include the Clash. So, yeah, Martin Truex Jr. went from missing the playoffs last year to likely being one of the top seeds in this year's playoffs, the way things are going. So yeah, he bounced back. I think I got this one right, but let's hear what I said.
Last year was not good. If we look at the stats, only 4 top 5s, an average finish of 14.9.
Yeah, all down.
Numbers. Worse since 2014. I hate to blame bad luck for everything. I think race car drivers and teams are really quick to just say, oh, bad luck.
That is true. One of my pet peeves.
Made some mistakes last year, no doubt about it. The team made some mistakes. But it also felt like the universe was against them. Felt like
it did feel that way.
Did go wrong. Many.
It was kind of sad at the end of the season.
I'm expecting a bounce back year. I think Truex wins a couple of races. He makes the playoffs. This could be his final season. He
Okay,
has not.
that part I don't think is true. I think he will come back. A lot of stuff has changed. He's winning. He seems happy with where he's at. I said a couple of wins there. He's already got a couple of wins. So maybe I still underestimated Truex a little bit.
Truex this year, I expect him to make the playoffs, win some races, probably a couple. I'm not going to say he's going to win 3, 4, 5. He is 42 years old. He's probably just past his prime. I'm not saying it's the best Truex we've ever seen. But even 90% of Truex is better than most of the field and is capable of winning races. So I expect a bounce back year from Martin Truex Jr. in 2023.
I'm going to give myself credit for that one, even though maybe I underestimated Truex a little in my preseason. But I did say he'd bounce back, and he has done that. So the headline was correct.
My third bold prediction, the Rookie of the Year battle will pretty quickly become an afterthought.
I'm not sure this was a bold prediction, really. I mean, Ty Gibbs, I think some people picked him to make the playoffs, but most people said, no, he'll probably be, 16th to 20th in points. He'll have a few good races, but he's certainly not going to look like Kyle Busch out there. And Noah Gragson, I think he was a little overhyped coming into this year. It doesn't help that Legacy Motor Club has just wet the bed. Eric Jones has been slower. Jimmy Johnson, unfortunately, has been hard to watch the races he's done. And the 42 last year was terrible with Ty Dillon behind the wheel. I guess we didn't expect Noah Gragson to make it look even worse. And again, I don't think it's all Noah Gragson, but I don't know. What am I trying to say? I guess I got this one right because Ty Gibbs, I think, is 18th in the standings. Gragson is like 32nd. So no, nobody is talking about the Rookie of the Year battle right now. In the offseason, people were discussing Noah Gragson, Ty Gibbs, because they were both in the Xfinity Series Championship 4. Gragson was blunt at Phoenix saying, yeah, I don't like Ty Gibbs. We don't get along. This time a year ago, heck, even just 6 months ago, this seemed like a great budding rivalry, and I still think it will be one day, but right now, just, Gibbs is running 15th every week, and Gragson is DNFing every week. No one's talking about the Rookie of the Year battle at this point.
Both are big personalities. Last year, they dominated the Xfinity Series.
See, on that note, Noah Gragson, we've seen his personality plenty between the bowl cut, the attempted fight with Ross Chastain, but Ty Gibbs, he's been on his best behavior, I think, for the most part. Minus maybe the Michael McDowell incident in the All-Star Open, Ty Gibbs has not shown us a lot of big personality. He's kind of kept his head down and just focused on himself, done his thing, stayed out of trouble for the most part. So yeah, we've also kind of been cheated out of that so far, I think, in the Cup Series.
I don't expect either to set the world on fire. In the case of Ty Gibbs, I'm predicting 8 to 10 top 10s, maybe a handful of top 5s, and I think he misses the playoffs by a spot or two.
Hey, I kind of nailed that. I think he's 18th in points right now, so far I'm on point. I said 8 to 10 top 10s. He's got 4, so he's on track to get 8 to 10 top 10s. He doesn't have a top 5 yet, though, so I'm missing that category. But hey, my Ty Gibbs prediction, pretty much on point so far.
In the case of Noah Gragson, I don't think that Legacy 42 is quite as competitive as the JGR 54.
Ain't that the truth?
I still think he'll get 6 top 10s, 2 top 5s, 3 top 5s.
Okay.
Probably finishes around 22nd in points. Bookmark this section of this video and come back to it in 6 months. See how right I am. Maybe.
I'm not right at all on Noah Gragson, unfortunately. He is, I think, 32nd in points, so...
My fourth bold prediction, Christopher Bell will emerge as Joe Gibbs Racing's
I forgot about this one
this season. If you just look at the stats, Christopher Bell was the team's best driver last season. Led the team in wins with 3. He had the most top 5s, top 10s. I think he led like the third most number of laps.
Obviously, he made the championship 4 last year, was the only Gibbs car at Phoenix. So, I forgot. I was very high on Christopher Bell coming into this season. And let me pull up his numbers real quick. I mean, he's 7th in points. That's second best of the JGR cars. He's tied for the second most wins at JGR with 1. I think he's actually got the most top 10s of any of his teammates. Third most laps led. Yeah, I mean, Truex, he's bounced back bigger maybe than I expected him to. He looks like the fastest, most consistent Gibbs car this year. Denny Hamlin, he has that 1 win. I think Hamlin and Bell, I think they're next to each other in points as well. They've both looked very equal. So yeah, Christopher Bell, the season's still young. I think Bell could still emerge as the best Gibbs driver and team this year. But right now, I think I got to give that nod to Truex. But Christopher Bell is in the mix.
And what I really love about Christopher Bell is that he doesn't have any weaknesses. Growing up a Matt Kenseth fan...
Maybe super speedways? I say that, and he was pretty good back at Speed Week at Daytona. I remember thinking he was pretty competitive. He won the Bristol Dirt Race this year. So what does Bell have on his resume? He's won at a short oval. He's won at a couple road courses. He's won at a dirt track. He's won at Martinsville. That is a short track. Does he have an intermediate win yet? Off the top of my head, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. We're just waiting on the bigger ovals, Bell. Get yourself a win out there.
1 year, kind of a one-off. Could be a fluke. 2 straight years starts to feel like the real thing. And I think that's what we'll see from Christopher Bell this season.
You know, even if Christopher Bell doesn't end up as the best Gibbs guy, if, you know, Martin Truex Jr. is representing them at Phoenix, for example, I still think Bell will make a good playoff run. He'll probably win another race or 2 this year. I still think Christopher Bell has a very, very bright future ahead of him. A couple of years ago, when Joe Gibbs Racing had to make the difficult decision, do they go with Eric Jones or Christopher Bell? They were really on the fence. I didn't think there was really a clear right or wrong answer. And honestly, even now, while things have worked out pretty nicely with Christopher Bell, Eric Jones winning the Southern 500 last year in a GMS car just continues to show you how much talent he has, and he is a couple of years, or at least a year younger than Bell. But regardless, I think Joe Gibbs Racing has a really good, solid driver that they can build a foundation around for the next decade plus, even if this year doesn't end up being the year.
All right, my 5th and final.
All right, before we get to the last one, so I got the first one way off, or at least mostly off for the time being with Allmendinger. I got the Truex pick pretty well, pretty accurate. I think I got the rookie battle mostly accurate. I was a little off on my Gragson prediction, but my Ty Gibbs prediction was on point. And I think the Bell one, you know, remains to be seen. I'm like 2.5 out of 4. I'll give myself credit for 2.5 so far. So let's see if we can at least end above 500. We got to get this last one right so we can finish, you know, with a winning record, let's just say.
Bold prediction, Kyle Busch is going to hit the ground running and win 4 or 5 races with RCR this year.
Yeah, I forgot about this one, but I shouldn't have. This was one of my big talking points coming into the year. Yeah, I've been a Kyle Busch believer since, I'm not going to say since he initially announced that he was going to RCR, but probably not soon after. I've been a believer. I remember I picked Tyler Reddick to win the championship last year in that 8 car. Blew up in my face once the playoffs started, sadly. But Kyle Busch driving that same car. Kyle Busch is a better race car driver than Tyler Reddick. Right here, right now, I believe that is the case. That is no disrespect to Tyler Reddick. Kyle Busch is arguably one of the top 5, top 10 greatest drivers ever. It's okay if he's not as good as Kyle Busch is yet. Kyle Busch in that car absolutely can win a championship, absolutely can win a number of races with Randall Burnett still there. Yeah, I was very high on Kyle Busch. I said 4 or 5 wins. Obviously, he's already got 3. He could easily win 6 or 7 and even blow this prediction up out of the water, but I feel pretty good about this one so far.
Tyler Reddick, who drove the 8 car last year, won 3 races, could have won a handful more. Randall Burnett, his crew chief.
Yeah, that's true. Reddick did win 3 last year.
Kyle Busch, he blew a tire while leading at Fontana. He was up front in Atlanta when he blew a tire.
Yeah, a lot of the issues for Reddick were either setup or car or something.
If they cut back on the blown tires, and
which
I think
they have.
A skilled driver like Kyle Busch behind the wheel, it's no disrespect to Tyler Reddick, but with a future Hall of Famer like Kyle Busch behind the wheel, hopefully the team's not pushing the air pressures quite so aggressively. Hopefully
Maybe
they figure those demons out.
That's
if they
possible.
Start to finish more of those races, I'm convinced Kyle Busch can bring him to victory lane 4 or 5 times, easy.
Yeah, I think we've nailed it. I think it's so funny to hear myself 6 months ago basically talking the exact way I'm thinking and saying and talking now. It's just kind of weird. It's like I say something and then I repeat it. It's like time travel in a weird way.
And we all know Kyle Busch is great when he's motivated.
Yeah, there's another example. I think I literally said that exact same line like last week in a video. So my mind has not changed much, at least when it comes to Kyle Busch in the past 5 months.
I'm convinced Kyle Busch will be a legit contender. I think he's going to have his best season since 2019. I'm not ready to pick him as my championship favorite just yet. But
I'm still not.
I think anything short of a round of 8 appearance would be a disappointment this year. Honestly, anything short of a championship 4 appearance. Busch will probably feel like he left something on the table. Yeah,
I think at this point, anything less than a championship 4 berth would be a disappointment, considering how well they fired off the first half of this year.
I'm convinced Kyle Busch, Randall Burnett, that 8 team will be a force in 2023. So
there you go. All right. I'm going to give myself a point for that one. So that means I got 3.5 out of 5 correct. And yeah, I know those weren't the most bold predictions. Like I said at the beginning, I wanted them to still be fairly realistic, not something completely outlandish. But 3.5 out of 5 correct. I'm feeling pretty good. I was worried I would really embarrass myself. I think it was a year or 2 ago I did a video like this, and I think I got 1 out of 5 correct. Maybe I was a little more bold in those days. I'm not sure, but I'll take it. I've improved as the years have gone on. Let me know down in the comment section below. Did you have any bold predictions yourself at the beginning of the season that have either been proven true or have so far not worked out? Let me know. Let me know what you're watching out for the remainder of this season. Again, 10 races left in the regular season. Then we got the 10 race playoffs, but this was fun. I really appreciate y'all tuning in and watching. I will see y'all again tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Take it easy.